He sat on the cold sidewalk, coat ragged, hands shaking from the winter wind. People walked past, laughter spilling over insults. "Go back to the army, loser." Their eyes skimmed over him, dismissive, cruel, but no one saw the storm inside. No one noticed the hero quietly waiting, invisible yet unbroken. And then it happened. A scream. A child trapped, smoke curling from a burning building. In that instant, the world would finally see. Heroes wear no labels. The bitter wind cut through the city streets, a whispering reminder of how easily one could be ignored. He sat against a cold brick wall, a figure draped in tattered blankets, eyes shadowed beneath a worn baseball cap. His name was Thomas, though few bothered to ask. To the bustling crowd around him, he was just another homeless man, a fixture of inconvenience. Some laughed, some muttered under their breath, others crossed the street to avoid their gaze. Words like loser and bum floated through the air, harmless to some, poisonous to others, but not to Thomas. He felt their judgment, their dismissal, like an old wound flaring in the cold. His back ached from sleeping on concrete. His hands, scarred and weathered, twitched slightly, memories of a different life pressing against his ribs with every breath. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Silence had become his armor. It had always protected him, even before the streets. Thomas's world was small yet vast in memory. Each passing stranger was a reminder that invisibility was both a curse and a shield. He smelled smoke long before he saw it. The acrid sting pricked his nostrils, pulling him from the quiet haze of the morning. A scream tore across the street, shrill and panicked. A child, no more than 7 or 8, was trapped in the upper floor of a building now devouring itself with flames. People stopped, frozen, indecision written across their faces. Phones were lifted, cameras pointed, but hands remained useless. A quiet panic simmered in the crowd. And then, almost instinctively, Thomas rose. The bricks under his palms were jagged, the cold cutting into him like knives. But he climbed. Every footstep carried the weight of his past, every movement an echo of discipline ingrained by years of military service. Thomas had seen fire before, not in the streets, not like this, but in the chaos of battle. He knew fear. He knew strategy. He knew sacrifice. And now, the child's life depended on it. No one stopped him. No one believed he could make a difference. They had judged him already. But judgment meant nothing when courage became action. As Thomas entered the building, the heat enveloped him, a living, hungry thing. Smoke clawed at his throat, the screams of the trapped child and panicked neighbors mingling in a terrifying chorus. He pushed forward, each step deliberate, silent, unstoppable. The floors beneath him creaked, threatening collapse. Memories of comrades lost, of promises made and broken, guided his movements. He could feel the child's heartbeat through the smoke, a tiny, fragile pulse begging for salvation. When he reached the room, Thomas found the child huddled beneath a collapsed beam, eyes wide with fear, tears carving clean lines through soot-darkened cheeks. Without hesitation, he lifted the beam, his muscles straining, body screaming in protest. He wrapped the child in his arms, the smell of smoke and fear mingling with the faint metallic tang of sweat and steel from his own body. Each step down the burning staircase was a negotiation with mortality. Outside, the crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned silence. They had seen him, really seen him, for the first time. The man they mocked, ignored, and dismissed was the one who had saved a life. He handed the child to waiting paramedics, their hands trembling as they accepted what he had preserved. Then, without a word, Thomas stepped back into the shadows of the city street, invisibility reclaimed, dignity intact. But this was only one chapter of Thomas's story. Thomas had not always been invisible. Once, he had walked the world in uniform, pride sharp in his chest, duty etched into every line of his face. He had joined the military at 18, driven by a sense of honor and the promise of something larger than himself. The days were long, the nights longer, but he had known purpose. He remembered the desert heat pressing against his skin, the sharp tang of dust in his throat, the quiet moments before battle when silence itself became a companion. He had friends there, brothers in arms, men who laughed in the face of danger and mourned silently when one did not return. Thomas had seen death's cruel impartiality and felt grief so deep it hollowed him out from the inside. When he came home, the world had shifted. The familiar smells of home, the laughter of neighbors, even the comforting hum of traffic felt alien. His comrades returned, some broken, some worse, and he found himself unable to bridge the chasm between his memories of war and the quiet banality of civilian life. Jobs slipped through his fingers, relationships faltered, and slowly, imperceptibly, the streets claimed him. Yet in this apparent ruin, Thomas carried invisible armor, discipline, resilience, a steady moral compass honed by years of facing life and death. Every scar on his hands, every crease in his weathered face told a story of honor and sacrifice. And though the world overlooked him, he remained unshakable, a silent sentinel waiting for the moment when courage would be needed once again. On the streets, Thomas's presence was a provocation to those who measured worth by appearance. Children stared, mimicking the cruel words of adults. Passers-by averted eyes, discomfort painting their features. Authority figures walked by, busy with paperwork or errands, blind to the injustice played out beneath their noses. And yet Thomas said nothing. Silence was his protest, his statement against a world that demanded labels before deeds. Inside him, however, a storm brewed, memories of combat, of chaos, of being underestimated, fused with the sting of public disrespect. He had been mocked as a civilian, and now the city demanded he remain small, insignificant, invisible. But Thomas understood a truth too few acknowledged. Courage and honor could not be measured by appearances. The invisible often carried the heaviest burdens. Days passed. Winter bit harder. Each day, Thomas navigated streets filled with sneers and side glances. One morning, he noticed a small boy shivering on a bench, the same vulnerability mirrored in his own reflection years ago. A subtle gesture, a shared blanket, a nod, a quiet word of reassurance, revealed Thomas's unspoken power. The city did not see him as a man who could save, a man who could inspire, a man who could stand when all else faltered. Yet he persisted, each act of quiet defiance, a refusal to be diminished. Even within the chaos of the burning building, Thomas's mind remained disciplined. He moved with the calm precision of a soldier navigating a minefield, anticipating collapse, gauging distance, protecting the child not with bravado, but with practiced, silent care. He became an invisible force of resilience, a quiet hero against the roaring fire. The crowd outside, initially paralyzed by indecision, began to sense something extraordinary. Their whispers, once derisive, shifted to awe. Thomas's actions demonstrated a truth the world often forgot. Heroism was not found in titles, in wealth, or in applause, but in silent, unwavering courage. He moved with the authority of someone who had faced death countless times and returned, tempered, unbroken. Paramedics took the child safely. Bystanders finally stepped forward, their faces wet with unspoken shame. The man they had ignored was now the reason a life continued. A journalist snapped photographs, capturing the juxtaposition of a ragged veteran and the saved child in his arms, a stark testament to silent bravery. As Thomas walked away from the scene, people stopped him, hesitated, then stepped forward with gestures of gratitude, hands extended, eyes wet with respect. The child's parents whispered thanks, a trembling acknowledgement that the man they had passed without notice was a guardian in disguise. Crowds gathered, not for spectacle, but to honor quiet heroism. Children mimicked his posture, adults looked inward, confronting their assumptions. Even the officials, initially dismissive, offered formal recognition, but Thomas's attention had already moved elsewhere. He did not need titles, nor medals, nor public ceremonies. The city had finally learned what he had always known. True strength was measured not in appearances, but in actions. Thomas returned to his corner of the city, a quiet figure amidst the chaos, yet forever altered in the eyes of those who had seen him. The winter wind seemed gentler now, a companion rather than an adversary. He understood something fundamental. Respect, once earned, could ripple far beyond the boundaries of expectation. The world may still ignore many like him, yet their courage never fades. Heroes exist in silence, in the overlooked, in the hearts of those who act when no one watches. Wherever you are, take a moment to see the silent strength around you. Reflect, share, and honor it. Comment below where you're watching from. Share your thoughts on the story and subscribe for more stories that celebrate the unseen heroes who walk among us every day.